The drama surrounding Cleveland just hit another level, and this time, it's not about a game, a loss, or a questionable coaching decision. It's about a young quarterback whose name alone brings headlines, Shadur Sanders. The same Shadur who's been sitting on the sideline week after week, waiting for his chance to prove himself, has suddenly found himself at the center of a firestorm. Early this morning, reports from one of Cleveland's biggest sports stations, 92 The Fan, hinted that his name has surfaced in trade talks. And not just any trade, an AFC blockbuster scenario involving the New York Jets. That single rumor sent social media into meltdown. To understand the shock, you have to see the situation for what it is. Shadur Sanders hasn't even taken meaningful first-team reps in practice. He's barely seen the field. Yet, somehow, his name is being thrown into potential trade discussions as if he's just another replaceable asset. And this isn't gossip from a random account online. It's being discussed on one of the most respected local sports radio platforms in Cleveland. When those guys start speculating, it usually means someone in the building has started whispering. The alleged deal being floated? Cleveland sends Shadur Sanders and a draft pick to the New York Jets in exchange for wide receiver Garrett Wilson. On paper, it sounds wild. But in Cleveland, where dysfunction has become the norm, it's disturbingly believable. Fans were stunned. One moment, they were sipping coffee, hoping for a spark of optimism after another rough week, and the next, they were reading headlines about trading away the team's most marketable young talent. Shadur hasn't even been allowed to compete for the starting job, and now they're talking about shipping him off for draft capital? It's the kind of move that makes you question whether the people running the Browns understand what they have on their hands. The frustration isn't coming out of nowhere. For weeks, fans have watched Kevin Stefanski and offensive coordinator Tommy Rees insist that Dillon Gabriel remains the guy, despite Gabriel's poor performances and complete lack of consistency. Meanwhile, reports keep surfacing that Shedur's not getting proper practice reps, not getting time with the starters, and not being groomed as the quarterback of the future. Every time reporters ask about it, the coaches say it's a developmental year. But developmental for who? Because from the outside looking in, it seems like the only thing developing in Cleveland is confusion. Then this trade rumor drops, and suddenly, everything makes sense, in the worst possible way. If there's truth to it, then maybe the reason Shadur hasn't been getting reps isn't because of development, but because the team has already decided to move on from him. Maybe they've been keeping him on ice, protecting him from injury before a potential trade. It's speculation, sure, but when you connect the dots, the timing feels too perfect to ignore. And then there's the ugly reality of how the Browns operate. They've done this before, mishandled quarterbacks, wasted potential, and turned promising players into footnotes. Fans remember how Baker Mayfield was treated, how every season seems to start with hope and end in dysfunction. And now, it feels like history is repeating itself, just with a new name on the jersey. What makes this sting even more is how blatant it feels. Cleveland has been using Shedur's name for publicity since the day they signed him. His social media following, his college reputation, his last name, all of it brings attention. Some insiders have quietly suggested that his presence on the roster is as much about marketing as it is about football. He sells jerseys, gets fans talking, and keeps the team relevant in headlines. But if that's true, then tossing his name into trade rumors this early isn't just a mistake. It's disrespect. You can't build hype around a player, keep him on the bench, and then suddenly treat him like trade bait. And let's be clear, the fans aren't buying the excuses anymore. The internet has exploded with backlash. Within an hour, Shedeur trade was trending across social media platforms. Memes flooded in, mocking the Browns for once again sabotaging their own talent. One post summed it up perfectly. Cleveland can't develop quarterbacks, so they trade them before they get a chance. Another said, we finally get someone with swagger, potential, and energy, and they're already trying to get rid of him. Classic Cleveland. Even local analysts were shocked. Some reporters have publicly said that Shedeur has looked great in practice, sharper than anyone expected, while Dillon Gabriel, by comparison, doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback. That's not just criticism. That's a damning evaluation from people who've seen both players up close. So how does it make sense that the guy impressing in practice is being ignored while the one struggling on the field keeps starting? It doesn't. And fans know it. To make matters worse, this rumor didn't surface in a vacuum. It came right after another wave of public comments from the coaching staff, doubling down on Gabriel as the starter. The timing is suspicious. Right after confirming Shedeur isn't getting first-team reps, suddenly his name is linked to a trade? It's hard not to feel like something strategic is happening behind the scenes. And the potential trade partner, the New York Jets, only adds more weight to the theory. The Jets, who are desperate for a young backup to learn behind Aaron Rodgers, would love a player like Shedeur. He's talented, charismatic, and has the kind of star power that fits perfectly in a New York market. From their perspective, this move would make perfect sense. For Cleveland, though, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Trading Shedeur would be like throwing away a winning lottery ticket before you even scratch it. He's the kind of player who could light up the field if given the chance. And if he ends up thriving elsewhere, Cleveland will never live it down. You can already imagine the headlines a year from now. Former Browns QB Shadur Sanders shines in New York debut. The fan base would never forgive management for that. And yet, the front office has stayed silent. No statements, no denials, no reassurances. Nothing. That silence speaks volumes. When a team isn't actively shutting down a rumor, it usually means they're at least entertaining the idea. Maybe they're taking calls. Maybe they're just listening. But one thing's certain, they're not shutting it down, and that's fueling even more speculation. Meanwhile, Shadur himself hasn't said a single word. No posts, no interviews, no reactions, just silence. But that silence says everything. It's the calm before the storm, the kind of quiet that comes from someone who's seen this story before and knows how quickly things can change. You have to imagine what's running through his mind, sitting in practice, watching reps go to someone else, hearing your name on the radio as trade bait. That kind of disrespect would eat away at any player's confidence. If Cleveland actually pulls the trigger on this, it's going to haunt them. Because even if Shedeur isn't starting now, he's still one of the few players on that roster with the potential to change the franchise's future. The Browns have made a career out of quarterback chaos, and this move would just add another painful chapter to the saga. They finally have a young, talented player with the pedigree, personality, and potential to build around. And instead of nurturing him, they're dangling him in rumors for a short-term fix. In the end, maybe this is just talk. Maybe the Browns won't trade him. But even the fact that it's being discussed shows how broken the situation really is. Because when a team believes in a player, they protect him. They don't use his name for leverage. They don't let media speculation spiral out of control. They stand behind him. And right now, Cleveland isn't doing any of that. So now the spotlight's back on the Browns, and this time there's nowhere to hide. Fans are demanding answers. Analysts are calling for accountability. And somewhere in the middle of all this noise, Shadur Sanders is waiting, watching, and wondering what his future looks like. But the truth is simple. If Cleveland won't give him the chance he deserves, someone else will. Maybe in New York, maybe somewhere else. But wherever it is, you can bet that when he finally gets that shot, he's going to make the Browns regret ever letting his name leave their building. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Cleveland would actually trade Shadur Sanders, or is this just another media stunt? Should he want out after how he's been treated, or should he stay and fight for his chance to prove them wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments.